Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm your host, a true crime enthusiast who's spent countless hours digging through case files, court documents, and news archives to bring you the most chilling stories from the shadows of human nature. Today we're diving deep into one of the most heartbreaking and infamous cases in recent American history, the Chris Watts family murders. I've been obsessed with this story ever since it broke in 2018, and as someone who's followed every twist and turn, poring over police reports, interrogation videos, and even the Netflix documentary, I'm here to break it all down for you. We'll cover the gruesome details of the crimes, Chris's sentencing to death by lethal injection, or so some thought, why that execution never happened and likely never could, and whether justice was truly served in the end. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long one. I'm aiming for a thorough breakdown, just like those late-night YouTube deep dives you love. Let's get into it. First off, let's set the scene with some background on the Watts family. From what I've gathered from public records and family interviews, Chris Watts seemed like your average suburban dad on the surface. Born on May 16, 1985, in Spring Lake, North Carolina, Chris met Shannon Orzusik in 2010 through mutual friends. Shannon, born January 10, 1984, in Aberdeen, North Carolina, was a vibrant, outgoing woman who poured her energy into her family and her work. They tied the knot on November 3, 2012, in Mecklenburg County, and soon started building what looked like the perfect life. By 2013, they had moved to Frederick, Colorado, into a spacious 5-bedroom home at 2825 Saratoga Trail. Chris landed a job as an operator at Anadarko Petroleum, an oil and gas company, while Shannon worked from home promoting Thrive products for Vel, a multi-level marketing company. She was all about that hustle, posting motivational videos on social media, sharing family moments, and building a brand around health and positivity. Their family grew quickly. Bella Marie Watts arrived on December 17, 2013, followed by Celeste Catherine, CC Watts on July 17, 2015. The girls were adorable, Bella with her big eyes and shy smile, CC full of energy and mischief. In 2018, Shannon announced she was 15 weeks pregnant with their third child, a boy they planned to name Nico, but beneath the Instagram perfect facade, things were crumbling. Court documents reveal the couple filed for bankruptcy in 2015, drowning in debt from their home and lifestyle. Chris later admitted in letters to a pen pal that he felt trapped, resenting Shannon's controlling nature and the financial strain. And then there was the affair. Chris had been seeing Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker at Anadarko, since June 2018. She described their relationship as passionate, but Chris lied to her, claiming he was separated. This infidelity, combined with his growing detachment, set the stage for unimaginable horror. Now, let's talk about the night it all went down. August 13, 2018. Shannon had just returned from a business trip to Arizona around 1:48 a.m., dropped off by her close friend and colleague, Nicole Utoft Atkinson. Chris was home alone with the girls that weekend, and according to home security footage I've reviewed from police releases, everything seemed normal at first. But in the early hours, Chris strangled Shannon in their bedroom after an argument about his affair and their failing marriage. He claimed in initial confessions that she attacked the girls first, but we now know that's a lie. He admitted later to planning the murders for weeks. Horrifyingly, he tried to drug Shannon with OxyContin to induce a miscarriage, hoping to make starting over with his mistress easier. The girls weren't spared. Chris confessed to smothering Celeste and Bella, though details vary in his accounts. In one version shared on Dr. Phil via his lawyers, he said he smothered them in their beds, but failed initially. Bella woke up bruised and traumatized, asking, "What are you doing to Cece?" He loaded Shannon's body into his truck, placed the still, alive girls on the floorboards without car seats, and drove 45 minutes to an Anadarko oil site. There, he buried Shannon in a shallow grave and shoved the girls' tiny bodies through 8-inch hatches into crude oil tanks. Bella fought back. Autopsy reports showed scratches on her buttock and a tuft of her blonde hair caught on the tank's edge. Can you imagine the terror? As I pored over the autopsy photos and reports thus, redacted versions available online, It hit me how calculated this was. Chris even backed his truck into the garage to load the bodies discreetly, captured on neighbor Nate Thayer's surveillance camera. The discovery of the crimes unfolded like a nightmare. By Monday morning, Shannon missed a doctor's appointment and wasn't responding to texts. Nicole Atkinson, sensing something was wrong, alerted Chris at work and called the police. Officers arrived for a welfare check around 1:40 p.m., finding the house eerily intact. Shannon's purse, keys, and medication were there, her phone wedged in the couch, car in the garage with the girls' seats inside. Her wedding ring sat on the nightstand, a subtle sign of marital discord. Chris played the concerned husband, giving media interviews pleading for their return. Shannon, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. But his demeanor was off, calm, detached. The FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation jumped in, and by August 14, suspicions mounted. Chris failed a polygraph test on August 15, scoring a dismal 18. Confronted, he confessed to his father Ronnie first, then detectives, spinning a tale that Shannon killed the girls after he revealed his affair, and he strangled her in rage. He led authorities to the bodies that night. Shannon in the grave, girls in the tanks. Arrested on suspicion of murder, he was formally charged on August 21 with 3 counts of first-degree murders, including 2 for children under 12 in a position of trust, unlawful termination of pregnancy, and tampering with deceased bodies. Anadarko fired him immediately. The community was stunned. How could this nice guy annihilate his family? As the investigation deepened, Chris's stories shifted. In February 2019, during a prison interview, he finally admitted killing the girls too, describing how Bella begged, "Daddy, no," before he smothered her. Letters to author Cheryl Cadell, published in Letters from Christopher, revealed premeditation. He researched ways to cause a miscarriage and contemplated suicide, but chickened out. Nicole Kessinger cooperated fully, providing text showing Chris's deception. I've watched hours of interrogation footage on YouTube channels like JCS Criminal Psychology. His body language screams guilt. Fidgeting, avoiding eye contact. This case exemplifies family annihilation, where a patriarch wipes out his kin due to shame or control loss. Experts like Dr. Phil's panel called it rare, as most annihilators suicide post-crime. But Chris wanted to live freely with his girlfriend. Now, onto the trial and sentencing, the part where we address the lethal injection angle. On November 6, 2018, Chris pleaded guilty to all 9 counts in a plea deal. Weld County District Attorney Michael Rook announced the death penalty was off the table. Why? Primarily, Shannon's family. The Arzusiks strongly opposed it. In emotional statements, they said they didn't want more death, preferring a quick resolution to heal. Frank Zusik, sir, told the court, "We loved him like a son, but he took everything from us." They supported the plea to avoid a drawn-out trial reliving the horrors. But there's more to why lethal injection was never on the cards, and why Chris couldn't be executed even if sought. Colorado's death penalty system was notoriously dysfunctional. Since reinstating it in 1976 post-Gregg v. Georgia, the state executed only one person, Gary Lee Davis, in 1997 by lethal injection. Others, like Nathan Dunlap's Chuck E. Cheese Killard, lingered on death row for decades due to appeals. Governor John Hickenlooper, in office during the Watts case, was anti-death penalty. He granted Dunlap a reprieve in 2013, citing costs, racial bias, and ineffectiveness as deterrents. Rourke blamed Hickenlooper's stance for making capital cases impractical. Appeals could drag 20-30 years, with no guarantee of execution. In Watts' case, pursuing death would mean years of hearings, expert testimonies on fetal viability for Nico, and reliving autopsies for the family. The plea ensured consecutive life sentences without parole. Fast forward to March 23, 2022. Colorado abolished the death penalty entirely under Governor Jared Polis, becoming the 22nd state to do so. Polis commuted the sentences of the 3 men on death row to life without parole. This retroactively sealed Chris's fate. If somehow sentenced to death earlier, he'd likely be commuted. Opinions on Reddit forums like r Chris Watts echo this. Even if sought, Colorado rarely executes, one user noted. So, no lethal injection for Chris. He's serving 5 life terms, plus plus 84 years at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, transferred December 2018 for safety amid threats. Was justice served? This is where it gets debatable, and as a true crime investigator at heart, I've wrestled with this. On one hand, Chris will rot in prison forever, no parole, no freedom. He's isolated, reportedly regretting his actions in letters, haunted by memories. The Arzasaks found some closure, Shannon's mom Sandra said in a 2020 interview. He's where he needs to be. Supporters of abolition argue death penalty is cruel, expensive, 18 million per execution in Colorado per studies, and risks innocence. Over 190 exonerated nationally since 1973. In Watt's case, no doubt of guilt, but the system avoided prolonging pain. On the flip side, many feel cheated. Online petitions and forums buzz with outrage. He deserves the needle for what he did to those babies. Bella's last words echo eternally. Critics say life in prison is too lenient. Taxpayers fund his existence while the Arzasaks grieve. Essays on sites like PaperSoul highlight systemic flaws. Death penalty disproportionately affects minorities. Chris is white, perhaps a factor in leniency. Some argue it's not deterrence. Familicides continue. Personally, as I've researched similar cases like Scott Peterson or Andrea Yates, I think justice is imperfect. Chris's punishment fits Colorado's evolving stance against state-sanctioned killing, but does it honor the victims? The Netflix doc, American Murder, humanizes Shannon through her texts and videos, reminding us the real tragedy is lost lives, not the killer's fate. Post-sentencing, the case exploded in media. Lifetime's 2020 movie, Chris Watts' Confessions of a Killer, drew backlash from the Arzasaks for no input, fearing copycats. Oxygen's Criminal Confessions aired body cam footage. Chris's prison life. He's in protective custody, studying the Bible, claiming redemption. In 2021, Inside Edition reported more confessions. He fantasized about the murders during the drive. Discussions on justice evolve with abolition. Focus shifts to prevention. Red flags like affairs, financial stress, isolation. Shannon's foundation aids domestic violence victims, turning tragedy to good. Wrapping up, folks. This case haunts me. Chris Watts destroyed a beautiful family out of selfishness, avoiding the ultimate penalty due to family mercy, political realities, and abolition. Is justice served? For the Arzasaks, yes. Closure without more death. For society, it's a mirror to our flaws. If you're as gripped as I am, check the sources in the description. I've linked Wikipedia, CBS News articles, and Reddit threads for your own deep dive. Hit like if this chilled you. Subscribe for more true crime breakdowns. And comment, do you think lethal injection should have been pursued? Peace out. Stay safe, and remember, evil hides in plain sight. Diving deeper into relationships, a massive lesson is the critical role of open communication, or the lack thereof, in preventing escalation. Chris Watts, in that ironic 2012 video that's resurfaced multiple times, preached about fixing failing relationships through honest talks. Yet by 2018, he bottled up his resentment, affair, and desires for a fresh start. Instead of seeking divorce or counseling, Shannon sensed the drift. Texts show her pleading, "I don't know what I did to make you not love me anymore." But Chris stonewalled. As I've analyzed in interrogation breakdowns from channels like JCS, this silence bred isolation. Experts in a 2025 MSN article revisiting the case call it a textbook emotional shutdown, common in family annihilators who view murder as an exit strategy. The lesson: don't let pride or fear silence you. Therapists on DocuU. Phil emphasized couples therapy early. If finances are tight like the Watts bankruptcy, free resources like hotlines exist. In 2026, with apps for virtual counseling booming, there's no excuse. I've seen echoes in recent cases. Think about how communication breakdowns fueled other domestics turned deadly. Encourage your circle. If something's off, speak up. It could have saved lives here. Tied to that is the underrated power of friends and community as a safety net. Nicole Atkinson's quick action, alerting police within hours of Shannon's no-show, cracked this case wide open. Without her intuition, Chris might have spun his web longer. From police reports I've pored over, her welfare check led to that pivotal surveillance footage from neighbor Nate. This highlights a key takeaway: trust your gut and intervene. In a 2023 Parade update, friends reflected on missed signs, like Chris's sudden fitness obsession tied to his affair. But post-Watts, awareness has grown. Shannon's foundation, now aiding domestic violence victims, promotes bystander intervention training. As someone who's followed similar stories, like the Gabby Petito case, I see patterns. Isolated victims need proactive allies. Lesson for us: build real connections beyond likes. Check in personally. In 2026, with AI monitoring apps for wellness, tech can help, but human vigilance is irreplaceable. If a friend ghosts or acts off, don't scroll past. Call authorities if needed. Shifting gears, let's talk mental health and the stigma around male vulnerability. Chris portrayed the stoic provider, but letters to Cheryl and Cadel reveal deep insecurity and narcissism. He felt emasculated by Shannon's success, per prison interviews. A 2024 Dr. Phil episode dissects this as toxic masculinity, fueling annihilation. Men who can't admit weakness snap instead of seeking help. Recent 2025 updates, like those NY Post pieces on his custodian job and female pen pals, show he's still manipulating from behind bars, claiming redemption via Bible study. But new letters blame women for his actions. No accountability. The lesson: normalize therapy for men. Organizations like Movember have ramped up post-Watts, highlighting how untreated resentment leads to violence. As I've researched, familicide rates tie to undiagnosed issues like depression. In 2026, with telehealth exploding, push for screenings in workplaces, Chris's oil job had none. Personally, this case made me advocate: if you're struggling, talk. It prevents the unthinkable. Financial stress as a powder keg is another huge lesson. The Watts 2015 bankruptcy, buried under that big house and thrive hustle, created unspoken tension. Court docs showed debts over $400K, with Chris resenting Shannon's spending. A 2021 Reddit thread I dove into questions his end goal: freedom from obligations via murder. Experts in a crime and investigation article link economic pressure to domestic spikes. Post-pandemic, it's worse. Takeaway: address money woes head-on. Financial counseling could have diffused this. In 2026, with inflation lingering, apps like Mint help, but couples need transparency. This case warns debt doesn't justify evil, but ignoring it invites disaster. On a societal level, the Watts saga teaches about media sensationalism and its double-edged sword. The Netflix doc American Murder humanized Shannon but sparked copycat fears, as the Urzusics blasted Lifetime's 2020 film. By 2025, a Yahoo article on Chris's letters shows how publicity gives killers platforms. He's got pen pals fawning over him. Lesson: consume true crime ethically. As a creator, I reference sources responsibly, avoiding glorification. Discussions evolve focus on victims, not killers. Shannon's legacy, her foundation, turns pain into prevention, funding shelters. Justice system flaws shine through, especially with Colorado's 2020 abolition. Chris avoided the needle due to family wishes and inefficiency, but as a 2025 YouTube vid speculates, rumors of reopening in 2026 stem from new evidence claims, like affair details or autopsy discrepancies. I've poured my soul into researching this one. Court files, confessions, interviews, all of it. And I hope it made you think, feel, maybe even talk openly about the red flags in relationships around you. Communication, friends who check in, mental health support. These things matter. They could have changed everything. If this video shook you, hit that like button so the algorithm knows to spread the story further. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. True crime isn't just entertainment. It's a warning. Drop a comment below. Do you think the plea deal was the right call, or should Colorado have fought for more? What lesson hits you hardest from this nightmare? I read every single one, and your thoughts keep these discussions alive. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. You never know when the next haunting case will drop. Thanks for sticking with me through this long one. Stay vigilant, hold your loved ones close, and remember, evil can wear the face of someone you trust. Until next time, take care out there. Peace.